All right. Podcast, videocast. I think it's
27 or 8?
8.
28? 27. 27. Mike got it.
Okay, 27. Dave and Joe. A lot of interesting topics we want to cover, but first, Joe will talk about tryouts and flexibility. But first, about tryouts.
Yeah. So this is more of like opening it up to you with more experience. With tryouts coming up soon, across pretty much high school baseball, what are you looking for in players when you're hosting tryouts? First, I know it depends on the school and your level of talent in general, right? For me, my main focus will be who can catch and throw properly. My program is a little bit different than your program.
I agree the same thing, because when you're dealing with freshmen and sophomores, I look who can catch, who can throw.
Okay. And what about varsity players, though?
That's an interesting question. You should know from watching frost-off baseball for 2 years, who has varsity potential, but you really don't. How do they grow? If they physically have grown a lot, and if they've learned the game better. It doesn't matter. We're talking baseball right now, but it doesn't matter if you're looking at basketball, how these kids have grown. Football, same thing. I mean, if you play lower level football, can you grow? Can you learn the sport? So varsity baseball, I don't know what you need position-wise, attitude-wise. Do they want to be a part of the team? If they're not stars, do they want to fill a role? Do they want to be on the bench? Do they have something to offer? There's a lot of different things.
Yeah. I mean, I would say when it gets to the higher level and kids are certainly capable of being on a team when it comes to their level of talent, definitely looking at attitude.
Yes.
Definitely looking at their ability to carry themselves with, good physical gestures and positive mannerisms.
And if they're not stars, if they're not, a higher level talent-wise, I don't want to use the word stars, but can you accept the role, a lesser role?
Exactly, yeah. Is this something that you'll embrace and try to do well? Right. You might not be in the game, but one day you'll get called in and you'll be expected to perform.
Right.
But if you handle your current role poorly, you won't be ready when the time
And there's
comes.
outside influences because the parents or other adults will tell them how good they are, and you have to fight that too, because we're going to be dispassionate about their ability and can they help our program, but they're not. They're just saying, hey, my kid's a star, or my kid's this, or my kid's that. And why are you playing? My kid made the team, but why is this kid playing ahead of him? So it's just like there's all sorts of stuff that come into play. And we want kids to be, through frost-off coaches, and hopefully we have good lower-level coaches, have prepared them for varsity play.
Yeah. I think the main thing from the difference between watching a lower level freshmen, sophomores to juniors, seniors is your level of maturity and your level of discipline.
Right.
Right. Is it your senior year and you're trying to goof off, or are you committed to your craft?
Absolutely. There's senior classes that have been like, okay, we made it. We don't care if we win or lose. And there's others that this is our lasting legacy. This will be the best year ever. And we didn't understand what the coach was talking about, but the light went on and said, now we understand what he was trying to project toward us. So yeah, you have to figure out what the kid's made of and why he's playing high school sports, and like you said last week, you have to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes
you said last week about all I care about is making the team in tryouts, and then I made that. Now it's like, okay, what's next? They don't care what's next. They just made the team, so they can go back to school or go back home and say, hey, I made the team. That's all they care about.
Mm-hmm.
We care about forming a winning program and molding the player into a complete person. Like,
Yeah, we want to form a winning program that produces winners, because a quality winner
On
knows
and
how to
off.
win
on and off the
on
field.
and off the field.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways of winning. There's a lot of ambiguity when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
But our winning coincides with the development of good quality character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. That's 100% right on the mark.
Getting back to tryouts, though, for me personally,
Okay.
at the school I'm at, I'm 100%.
Cheers.
I don't care which level I'm at. I want to see the ability to catch and throw as basic as it is, because the best defensive teams, they don't drop a ball in practice. They don't drop a ball in warm-ups. They don't overthrow. They don't underthrow. They're working on their crafts. Pitchers are over there working on fastballs, changeups. Catchers might be working on pop time a little bit. They're warming up. They're lengthening out. They're trying to hit targets. They're moving their feet. They're catching the ball between their shoulders, right? And the balls that are left, they don't do this. They move over and catch it here. There's hand and glove.
And it's up to the coach to see if they can find kids that can catch and throw, and then just do all the drills you just said.
Exactly.
Because they don't know any of that when they come in. When I see kids like this, just go like this, or they let the ball hit their glove like this, and it's almost like they're afraid of the ball. Well, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
it takes grit to get in front of a moving object that's hard.
right.
We
so
know that.
Yes, we do know that.
I mean, there's no mystery as to what's going on when you play baseball. It's not to the kids either, but like, don't lie to yourself. You're here to play. You got to get your nose dirty.
Yeah, and then we ask them in tryouts, have you ever played baseball before? Well, I played in this and that. Oh, I played in the house league here. We don't care, okay? But kids who have never played before and go like this, they're just hoping because they watch baseball on TV. Hey, that's my favorite team. I want to go out for baseball. Well, baseball's so hard to play. It's so hard to succeed in it. So, they dream about it, but that's when you get your cuts, and certain high schools, they have so many guys trying out, and the cuts are easy for the first, for the first wave, so to speak.
You know what's interesting, thinking about what you just said? There's probably so many coaches out there that have never had a single thought about what you just said, because only real baseball players that have already been taught well, not real, but have been taught the proper way,
Right.
Or they come to programs where it's expected that you know how to play baseball already.
Right.
But in the inner city or in areas that lack the development like that,
Right.
we do deal with situations where, have you ever played baseball before? Or I'm only trying out because my favorite team is the White Sox, or
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting how many maybe suburban schools or powerhouse schools where kids try out if they never played baseball before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something interesting to think about too, because what you're looking for there is completely different from what you're looking for out of kids who you've probably watched play their whole life, and you expect them to come to your school.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Definitely.
Also, the third thing after I can catch and I can throw pretty well as a 14-year-old, as a 13-year-old, as a 15-year-old. But can you run?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have quickness? Do you have straight line speed? Do you have lateral quickness? Do you have range? I mean, that's another thing. Hitting can be taught. And if you have good hand-eye coordination, which helps you catching, and if you have quickness, I think you can build a baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes speed, but it's not always there. But quickness can be there.
Yes.
Well,
quickness is a part of the ability to make a choice.
Right. And if you have guys that can make choices like that, like example, third baseman, they have to be quick. They have one-step quickness, or first step quickness. And if you have that, you can make yourself into a baseball player. You can make yourself into a nice role player on a team. Okay, you don't be the fastest. Brooks Robinson, and again, this is dating me, but he was one of the best baseball players, best third baseman of all time. He was slow as shit.
Yeah.
But great first step quickness and got rid of the ball really fast, squared his body, made spectacular plays. Just watch the 1970 World Series, 1971 World Series, 1972 World Series. No, that was Oakland. 70 and 71. Terrific. Just, it's a lesson on how to play third base and just being quick without having a strong arm, without being fast.
Yeah. I mean, I really think the only time, not the only time, but there's so many plays in baseball that overpower just pure physical talent.
Right.
So many plays, because what matters? When it comes to speed, what matters? You hit a ground ball second or short? Yeah, speed matters there if you're going to beat it out.
Right, right.
Regardless of who you are, you need to hustle in case they throw it away. But yeah, if you're fast enough, you can beat it out and get an infield hit. All right, speed matters there. I'm trying to think where else speed matters. Speed matters if you're an outfielder and they hit a hard ball in the gap and you have exceptional speed so you can make an exceptional catch. But that's also the non-routine play.
Right.
Right? Every other routine play is understanding the hitter that's up. Mental.
Yes.
Understanding the angle you're going to take. Mental.
Right.
Getting the ball, but not just getting to the ball.
Mental.
It's getting behind the ball. That's a mental.
Also taught.
Mm-hmm. Mental and taught. And it's over and over again.
Yes.
Choosing to go to second on a ball hit to left field. Knowing when the guy bobbles it, waiting for that, anticipating.
Right.
All mental.
All
yes, there's physical aspects involved. Majority of it is 100% just straight up. Have you ran this situation through your head before?
And
do you know what to do?
Have you been taught this time and time again before? So
when you hit the ball to the outfield, are you jogging to first, or are you expecting to get a double and then pulling up? When you hit the ball in the gap, are you jogging to second or expecting to hit a triple and pulling up when it's not there?
That's never taught. But we teach that. Assume
to double out of the box
until they make a play and throw it in.
Mm-hmm.
But you're always saying, I'm going for two because I hit the ball, I know it, and if he bobbles it, I'm there. And a double possible triple, same thing. Okay, if he bobbles it around, I'm going for three. If not, instinct. But it's taught and it's talked about.
And it's something that you have to put in light of the whole thing. We talk about, I just want to make tryouts, then you make tryouts, and then that's it, right? Do you just want to get a hit, and that's it? Because the object of the game is to score runs and prevent the other team from scoring runs, right? Yeah. So getting a hit is not good enough. Getting on base isn't good enough. You have to continue to look for the next opportunity. So when getting walked is great. It's amazing. If everyone on your team got walked every game, you're probably going to win because that's a lot of walks, probably leading to a lot of runs, right? It's just as good as a base hit.
You're just correlating what you said last week.
Yep.
Okay, I'm happy just to make the team. I'm just happy to get a single. Mm-hmm. No, players.
You get a single and you start rounding first base. You round it like you're going to second, like a bat out of the hell, and the minute you see him field it cleanly, you step on the brakes and you go back. Right? Unless it's like, if it's roped to right field, one hopper to him, you probably should have round first.
And as a coach, you don't hold your hands there. You tell them what's going to happen. Say, look, until they make a clean play, you're always going to second base. Now it's up to the player to recognize that.
Yeah.
And that's what you just said, mental. Yeah. Mental. The mental acuity, the mental focus.
If you're rounding first on a shallow base hit to left center, and you're a quarter to halfway there when he's fielding it, and you see him bobble it, you go. If he fields it cleanly, you hit the brakes. Unless you know, because you did your homework, again, mental, does he have a good arm? Is he accurate? Then maybe you go anyways.
That's all accumulated, and it becomes what you say, baseball savvy, baseball instinct. That's what it is. But it's all based on
your initial perspective and your mindset. Because Who the hell is scouting the left fielder at 15 or 16 or 17, even 20 in college, if they're only geared on getting that hit? Because that's your goal, is to get the hit. Your goal is not to take second. So who's thinking about
And
scouting the left
what did
fielder?
you do? What did you used to do? And what we watched? We watched pregame warm-ups. Okay, we see the left fielder doesn't have a strong arm. So if he bobbles, we're going. The right fielder has a decent arm. But we're gonna still take that hard turn, and if there's any sort of bobble,
Or he tries to throw it to be superhero and you never
Right.
go, he overthrows it.
and he likes to throw behind, whatever. But that's from scouts. Center fielder has an average arm. We're gonna go if he bobbles, or he has to go in the gaps. So this is something that you know before you even hit the ball.
Yeah, and this is something that when the whole team is looking for the next opportunity, this is when you really start to thrive. This is when blood's in the water. This is
Right.
when you really want to win, because now I saw something and I know that he wants to see it. And I know he
But
wants
my
to see
question
it.
to
So
you
I'm
is-
sharing all my information. We're sharing information.
Right.
We're in
But
the
my
dugout
question to
just
you
waiting.
is, how many coaches do this?
It's slim. But how many players too? I mean, there's always a player that looks out for himself, but how many players share that information?
Right.
When on a winning team, and I've been on maybe 2 to 3 well-winning teams.
Mhm.
When you get on a winning team and you see someone take second on a pop fly that drops in for a duck snort, and everybody gets excited, that's when you know you're on the right team.
That's right.
When everyone starts going batshit crazy because
That's right.
because our 2-hitter just hit a double on what should have been an out,
Yes.
that's when you know that everyone's ready.
And he wasn't jogging around first base. He was
he
going.
was getting a double from the start.
That's
He
it.
wasn't mad that he popped up. He was like, I'm going to get the second, because if it falls, I'm in scoring position.
Right. And also that duck snort down the line. Okay. And it's always got the spin. Okay. It's going to be a double, and the guy kind of kicks in and you end up at third base.
Mm-hmm.
That's just being prepared mentally and being taught that always look for it.
Here's a little tidbit that I'll share with everybody, and this is something I learned when I was in college. But when there's a left-handed hitter up, unless he's known to have power or he's known to be a consistent hitter to the gap, you pull that left fielder in and over toward the line, because they pull off the ball and they hit that little weak duck snort
It should
that
be
happens
caught.
to fall in or it's foul, but it should be caught every time. You pull your guy in, you pull him over the line, unless you know otherwise,
Right.
and you get the out. That's it.
Yeah.
A quick shift. The left fielder should know it. The outfielder should know it. They should be telling each other. The coach should know it. The coach's mom should know it. Just move the guy over. Make the change. Prevent a hit or a double.
Pretty
Because
simple.
that guy who pulls off the ball is probably a little fast kid.
Pretty simple stuff.
So,
But sometimes coaches have to be taught that, and coaches don't want to be taught that. I know everything.
Mhm.
So that's why they lose.
I mean, you got to learn from mistakes. If you let that happen 10 times in a row, we're going to check you in somewhere, because that's called insanity.
Well, you should be doing something else.
All right.
What else you got?
Next up. Well, this is just quick. I just wanted to mention, because I'm on a flexibility high right now.
That's good stuff.
I'm inflexible. It's terrible. It's trash.
And by the way, when I could do the splits, and so you're working for that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So let me start with this disclaimer. I'm probably flexible than most of my peers, but I'm very inflexible, and that's to emphasize how bad it is in the athletic world, especially baseball, on our flexibility. Right?
Is it because you lifted big time weights?
I mean, lifting weights isn't the problem. It's the lack of stretching, right? But you can lift weights and still keep mobility. You can do mobility routines before
It's
and
hard,
after.
but it's doable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can build it into your routine where you're doing mobility before and after, right?
Well, you saw all these weightlifters. I mean, these bodybuilders are so bulky, but
now, I mean, look at this. I can't even pick my. Look how far my shoulders
well,
are.
that's bad. And I used to be able to touch.
Right? If you see Michael Phelps, his arms go flying all the way back.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
can force this. That's about it.
And I used to be able to touch my elbows until I had many arm injuries.
And so, yeah, strength training will cause tightness if you're not doing a mobility routine. And I did it on and off here and there, but I never took it as serious, right?
So
And I do
what's your
know-
time frame for being really flexible?
Time frame?
How fast do you want to be super flexible?
I want to be.
And we're qualifying this with the fact that youth athletes are really flexible all the time.
Yeah.
And
you
don't
start
really,
off flexible, guys.
Yeah, and you
lose
don't
that.
really have to do flexibility exercises, which all these youth coaches try to do. You guys are already flexible. You haven't hit puberty yet or whatever. And then in high school, there's you have a routine, and I have a routine for getting guys warmed up, but you don't have to hyper stretch people because that causes injury.
Mm-hmm. So the last thing you want to do is static stretch prior to practice.
Last thing.
Prior to workout.
Dynamic.
Right? You don't want to extend those muscles and lax them out.
No.
Because
dynamic range of motion stretches.
Yeah.
Right.
Range of motion, mobility focused, movement intense exercises before, and then post workout, post practice, actually spend some time doing a static stretch.
If your youth coaches want to warm up
and get deep into your stretch.
Want kids to get like warmed up, like them run around the park one time or do sprints. That'll warm them up.
Do lunges. Do arm circles.
For sure.
Do like this. Like
that's
shoulder blades.
That's not hyper stretching. That's just getting warmed up.
Dynamic motions where you're lunging and rotating backwards.
No static stretches. They don't need it. They don't need it.
Exactly. But if you do that stuff before, you're lowering your risk of injury.
Absolutely.
Right. So we want to save people's arms, right? Dynamic stretching is one of them, and then stretching afterwards is another benefit when you're trying to actually static stretch and lengthen your ability to reach farther, or to spread your legs wider, anything on that sorts, because it improves your performance.
Right.
You're lengthening your muscles out, and it just there's a lot of benefits for that. It's stress relief. There's a ton of stuff.
Tremendous.
But moving on. I'm on a flexibility kick because
I like it.
I want to practice what I preach.
Yes.
And also, I'll put this there. When I was a junior in college, I told myself I wanted to start doing yoga at least twice a week. And the reason I did that is because I honestly believed that it would improve my performance. That was also the first time I truly started hitting the ball well into the gap, like consistently. And I did have a better range of motion. So I think that it's beneficial on multiple fronts. And I want to do the splits. All right, moving on. What's up?
Trust in coaches. And this has been in the news, so we'll talk about it because it's a really important topic, and we won't go over it that much, but because there's still stuff going on. But the stuff at Michigan State where this Dr. Nassar has been, and I won't even use the word doctor, Larry Nassar has been convicted from 40 years to 175 for sexual abuse to approximately 200 athletes. It's a disgusting story. And not only is it disgusting, the president of Michigan State just resigned, and she made a statement that was totally like arrogant and non-feeling of the victims. And on so many levels, it's disgusting. But athletes, and especially young athletes and young girl athletes, are so trusting in people in charge. And to violate that trust is horrendous. Mm-hmm. And that's why when we talk about youth coaches, and people trust us, and we should be qualified and researched and experienced, because you can't violate trust in youth athletes. And that's just the point.
Yeah. I mean, there's really nothing.
No, I go back, the cuts in education. Again, you talked about education last week, and it's just like such a fantastic point about educating everybody. But let's go back to, and this is a political statement, and I know our director and producer and engineer, Mike, agrees with me, and so do you. But there was a president called the Great Communicator. That was Ronald Reagan. He was the great bullshitter, because, and the conservatives and right wing loved him, but what he did was cut education revenues. He cut funding, and he put it all in the military. And now you're seeing the lack of education in all these idiots that are coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really appalling. And the people in education, when he was president, said they've cut everything, and this is going to take a toll on people down the road, and it certainly has, because people are coming out with just this whole thing, like with this Michigan State thing. Fox News isn't even reporting it. Why? It's news.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
But ask our president, and they probably think it's fabricated. Nobody believed these athletes until September of 2016. This has been going on for a long time. The guy's been at Michigan State since the late 90s.
Yeah.
And nobody believed these girls. And it's so heart-wrenching to listen to them, because not even their parents, oh, you're just making this. No, they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a president right now talking about lying and fake news, and he's the biggest liar of all time. He's the worst. I thought Reagan was terrible, and I thought the Bushes were terrible. This guy's the worst, because he's basically given a green light to lie about everything. When you're caught in a lie, lie some more. And this is going to have a really detrimental effect on today's youth, because they say, well, it's okay to lie, our president lies.
Yeah, I mean, they're growing up in this. They're seeing
So,
that.
I mean, Nixon did it, and he was terrible. And it took the country a long time to get over it. And now it's being recreated with this guy. Nixon cost America 21,000 more lives by sabotaging the Paris peace talks. And if you needed to know information about that, check out the new book about the 1968 elections with Lawrence O'Donnell. So he was an evil person, and this guy's evil, and he's going to hopefully be out soon. But going back to sports, everybody in Michigan State should be fired.
You gotta have trust.
Yes.
You can't violate that.
No, and I had a meeting with our players and yesterday about reiterating about what trust is and how everybody should have each other's back and don't lie about anything. And if there's a problem, and we just had an incident today, which you heard, and the guy called me right up and said, "Could I talk to you, coach, because I messed up?"
Yeah.
And as hard as it was for him as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, I thought that was pretty good of him to do that.
Yeah.
The other kid that was involved has not called me yet. So he doesn't get it, but this kid gets it. So trust. Don't violate it.
Yep. That's all that counts when it comes down to it.
You can't, kids look up to you and they're innocent, and don't betray that innocence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had good coaches when you were young. I had good coaches when I was young, and I just always looked up to them, and I'm not sabotaging. I'll never sabotage that profession, coaching and teaching.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Love it.
Yeah. And we are vastly underpaid.
It's true. All right.
You got anything else?
No, I'm good.
We wish you all the best of Thursday, the best of Friday, and the best on the weekend. And we will see you next time. Dave and Joe signing off.